Hey, Americo Keach. Today I'm here with an amazing member. This is Mr. Mike Stewart, and decided to hop online and talk to Mike because he's got an incredible story. He wanted to change his life. He wanted to get in incredible shape because he had a trip coming up. So we're going to dive into all that. We're going to talk about the results and everything else in between. So Mike, thank you so much for taking time to come on and do this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so let's set the stage. Talked about you're going to take this big trip. You're about to just do these things, and I'm guessing you probably needed to make a few changes before you did that. So just kind of before you did this trip, where were you? What was going on in your life at that time?
Well, it was close to Christmas time, New Year's, and all that, and all the parties and festivities. And we started talking with my daughter and son, and they were going to make a trip to hike the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. And that's a 4 day, 3 night trip hike. And the altitudes were 14,000 feet. And so I was 198 pounds and 5'7" and way overweight. And I knew I had to get in shape, and that's what inspired me uh, to get in shape and try to find someone to, to help me get
Gotcha.
there.
Now, since you were out of shape, overweight, were you dealing with any other issues? Like, did you have, were you lethargic? Were you aches and pains? Anything else kind of just coming along with being generally out of shape?
Oh yeah, everything. I was like I say, I was 40 pounds heavier, and the thing about it is when I would get out of the car, my knees would hurt, and I would limp every time you'd get out of the car, and I was had high cholesterol, and blood pressure was right on the verge of me starting to take medication, and so that was an inspiration of. Part of it,
Yeah.
getting into shape and changing my life, you
Yeah.
know.
So getting a little scary because the health stuff was starting to kick in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was all part of it,
Yeah.
because it was either keeping on. It was at that point where I knew I was going to keep on gaining weight, or I had to make some kind of change,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it was going to be a life changing
Yeah.
experience. I knew that in my head.
Yeah.
I was going and prepared that I needed to change my life and my lifestyle.
Okay, but the
Uh,
final catalyst was, all right, we're doing this trip, and you're like, oh man, 14,000 feet elevation. It's like, I don't know if I'm
right.
gonna make it through that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to be there just to hike it. And, I wanted to be in shape to where I could enjoy the trip too.
So there are a ton of places to train, ton of places to work out. How did you end up at Meltdown at the Transformation Studio?
What inspired me was Mark. He was working with my wife and worked with women and a weight loss program and all physical kind of wellness. And I didn't even know he would take me on. But then I asked my wife, who was a member at his gym, to ask him if he could do something for me, and he did. He heard what I wanted to do, and we got together, and he set up a program and told me to give him 3 months. And I had 3 or 4 months before the time, and I committed myself. Whatever he said to do for 3 months, I was going to do. What was great about it is not only did he work out, but he had a meal program, and he told you how to eat and what to eat, and so I did that religiously. I did what he told me to do, what he told me to eat, and the weight just started pouring off.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And we're gonna get to that in just a second. I'm
yeah,
gonna ask you about
right.
that because that's the cool part. But before we do, you went
Okay,
in. A big part of it is obviously training there, the atmosphere, the vibe, being a part of
right,
that. For
right.
people who haven't been in there, can you kind of just explain what that atmosphere and that vibe is like?
Well, what was great about it is Mark worked with me one on one, and what it was is I'm 65 years old, and it was really hard those first days. The first time I went, I could barely do jumping jacks. and at any time, and barely could, no push-ups, couldn't even think about doing a push-up, and sit-ups. And so, but he set up a program that started me off, at my level, and just knew and took my strengths, and then we just worked on that, and with my weight and all that. But the vibe was really, as far as the vibe, really understanding, never a negative, statement. It was all positive all the time. But it was only 3 times a week, a half hour, and so for that amount of time, it was just an amazing, and of course I did my homework, and I did other things and worked out too, but mainly just an hour and a half a week
Yeah.
uh,
Wow. Wow.
was my training with him.
So
And
you had, the support there as well. So like if when you were outside of that, if something were pop up, there was that level of support.
right, and he was. I could call Mark anytime. I can do that now. Call him anytime, and he can help me and tell me, what
Yeah.
to eat or
Okay.
what my calories are. And so it's really a one-on-one kind of operation. Mark really watched me to make sure I wasn't getting hurt, or I didn't overdo myself, and so he's really good at that, making sure
Mm-hmm.
I was in my comfort zone, you
Okay.
know,
Okay. And
and
within the training there and training with him, we'll talk about the results in just a second.
uh,
What's been your favorite part?
it's Mark's attitude,
Okay.
and his knowledge of the subject. He always had the answers, and then he's very flexible with the exercises. If you can't do an exercise, then he modifies it to where uh, it's a little easier, and then you just work up harder and harder, to
Gotcha.
harder level,
Gotcha.
But his knowledge and experience
Okay.
uh, came through when I started losing and started getting in shape. It was a real fast transformation if you just
So,
listen to what he says.
so speaking of fast, right? You said 3 to 4 month plan, right? That was before the trip. Okay.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you've seen. So, first of all, how much weight did you end up losing?
40 pounds,
Okay.
you know,
How
40.
fast? How long did it take you to lose that 40?
In, in 1 month, I lost 30, and then the next month, then I lost the 40, and was in really good shape, in 2 months, I was in pretty good shape. It was a program that hit every part of my body.
Okay. Getting you ready, not just to get you in shape, but getting ready for this trip.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we'll dive into that in a second in the trip. But you
Okay.
lost in just a few months. I mean, you lost 40 pounds. That's a crazy amount of weight to lose really quickly. What
Right.
other benefits? I mean, obviously it's not just the weight loss. What else did you notice?
Oh well. Like I said before, I was on the trip. I was, I had a physical, and knew what I was. And like I said, I was my I was right on the verge. My blood pressure was high, where I was going to have to start taking medication, and that's one of the a big things is my heart rate now, and my blood pressure is really in really good, good levels, and so I don't have high blood pressure anymore. But my knees, like I say, when I was overweight, I was getting out of the car and limping all the time and thinking that my pains would go away, but they never would, you know. And that's another thing is when I started working with Mark, uh, I started working on where my pains were. If my knee started hurting, Mark knew that. And so we worked on one knee and getting it stronger, and the other one might have been weaker, but chronic pain, chronic pain, for years, 20 years, over 20 years. And so I started working that pain out, and finally that pain started going away. So all those chronic pain pains that I thought would never go away, they have gone away.
Now,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing too that you can probably do a lot of things now that you couldn't do before, right? You're talking about you couldn't really do, push-ups, jumping jacks. You're having a tough time. So I'm
Right.
probably sure you can do so many things now that you weren't able to before.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And one thing about it is going on the trail, and that's the thing. Okay, like I say, this was after making and going through the trail. You know, uh, I
No,
can.
you're talking about the actual Peru, the trip
Yeah,
itself.
the
Okay, yeah.
trail.
So just share what that experience was like now
Okay.
that you're in shape. Yeah.
Well, after going through the trail, and this was like I say, these it was the Andes Mountains, and the mountains are straight up and straight down, and it's all rock. It's all rocky, rough path, and you do that for 4 days, just one step at a time. And so as you're taking every step, you're looking down and you're thinking of what the training did because you got a lot of time to think and a lot of steps to make, and you think, oh, my knee's about to go out, I mean, you're feeling all the training that you did. You're feeling it. You're taking it to the max on the trail, and that's when you start to realize, hey, uh, this training really helped me out. This type, I was doing lunges, think of lunges going up the mountain and stuff like that, and going down the mountain, the different exercises that helped me. And so you realize, how beneficial it all was. And so that's the appreciation you get out of
Yeah.
it. But
No.
then after going the long distance, you know that you can accomplish a lot of other things. That's the thing is you would you would ask the guy, for instance, in the morning, well, how far you got to go, and he would point way up the mountain, and you'd think that you couldn't even do that day, but you're doing that, and then you're going down the mountain and going up another one, and so you really I got a good appreciation of what I could do. It was a challenge, but
You
it
think
was a
you would have
great.
been able to do it before if you
I
hadn't done
didn't know.
this?
I didn't know if I'd make it. I didn't know if the altitudes would get me. I didn't know if
Hmm.
I'd have a sprained ankle. If you have a sprained ankle, you're out.
Yeah.
If any little thing, if you have altitude sickness, you would be out. But we did all that kind of exercises and made it through. But
Now,
I didn't know I'd make it. I didn't have no idea I could do it.
yeah,
But
but you did it, and I'm curious
yeah.
to know, right? So you went through this, you had in great shape really quickly. You were with a bunch of other people as you're doing it. Did you find that you were motoring up pretty good, holding your own with them, or maybe you were doing better than them on the way up?
Oh well, this is another part of it. Is the group I was with? They were all 30-year-old. They were 30 or less, and I'm 65. And my daughter is 28, and her fiance is a couple of years older, but they're runners and marathon runners. And they didn't have any problem at all doing it, of course, but their muscles still ached. Okay. And, uh, and my daughters, especially her muscles and her legs, they were all complaining about aching and hurting. And everybody, 30 or and younger, or anybody, their muscles are going to ache. Anybody that does it. But yeah, I hung in there, and you walk. Everybody walks at their own pace, and I just kept going, one step at a time. But yeah, I hung in there and was right with them, the whole way. But also in my work, I have to. I'm in the industrial boiler business, and we go up flights of stairs, 13 flights of stairs. Okay, going on top of a huge industrial boiler. And most of the time, before I used to do that, I'd go up a couple of flights and I'd be huffing and puffing, and it would be hard just to go up 2 flights of stairs, without being. And usually the people around me are 40 or so or younger folks, and but now I go to those job sites and I go up 13 flights of stairs like nothing, and I leave the guy, the 40-year-olders behind, I'm gone,
That's awesome.
and so it's a great feeling.
And so you've done this. You got in great shape. The health issues, you've gotten that all under control. The chronic pain is mostly gone away. Going through all this and seeing what you've done in such a short period of time, how does it all make you feel knowing that you've done this?
Oh man, great accomplishment, a great accomplishment. And where I do work, I work from home, but I do go to the job sites, like I say. And a lot of these folks don't see me or haven't seen me in a while. And everybody, when they do see me, they can't believe that I've lost the weight and look the way I do. Everywhere I go. So everyone definitely knows a difference. And in fact, some people don't even know and recognize me when I see them.
Now, what I'm going to start doing, I just want to I want to start wrapping up.
Okay.
But I guess before I do, I want to know, like, let's say there's a maybe very similar situation to where you were before you did this, and they need to lose weight and get in shape, and they hear your story and they think, this is actually pretty cool, but they're still on the fence. Maybe they're still 50-50. What would
Right.
you tell that person to push them off the fence and let them know that this is probably the right thing for them?
If you're overweight, and that's the other thing, is people like to go and say you're overweight and this and that, but the thing is I kept thinking, and most people that are overweight, they're not just overweight, they're obese. And I never liked that word, but I was obese. And then uh, if you can either keep on going in that direction, because as you get older, no matter who you are, and you exercise less as you have a tendency to get older, there's going to be a point in your life you got to say, hey, it's either I got to change or I'm going to die. It comes down to that, or you're going to have hip replacements and you're going to have high blood pressure. If you don't realize it one day, and you stay on the path, and you don't meet someone like Mark, and you stay on that path of not knowing what to do or what to eat, then you're going to just be hurting, and you're going to have hip replacements and doctor bills.
And so, and this is a silly question, we kind of implied
Uh,
through all of this, but I mean, so anybody who's looking to do this, you would recommend that they do this.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Uh, like I say, it's all the whole gamut, though. It's the exercise. Uh, it's also the meal program, that he has available, the nutrition, and so he's into nutrition and all
Mm-hmm.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
so the whole thing is what put the whole program put me together, and
Good.
so it's all great.